Watching the secure camera feed, I saw the exact moment the entire corporate network began to collapse. Murphy burst into the glowing server room, looking completely overwhelmed by the sudden blast of intense heat. If he pulled that main power breaker without a proper shutdown sequence, the digital audit logs would be destroyed. I whispered at the screen, hoping he would not touch the lever and ruin the evidence. He froze, staring at the flashing red warning lights, before slowly pulling his hand back to grab his radio instead. My phone vibrated on the table with an urgent text message from a federal officer named Agent Harrison. He wanted to know the security status of our facility. I chose to ignore the message because I was officially no longer employed by this foolish company. Let them figure out the situation on their own while I enjoyed my morning. I went home to take a long hot shower to wash away the stress of my sudden termination. When I stepped out, my phone showed 5 urgent voicemails from Bradley, the manager who had fired me. The first message was highly irritated, demanding the code to silence the annoying building alarms. In the second voicemail, his voice shifted from simple annoyance to outright verbal aggression. He accused me of network sabotage because his new offshore team could not log into the system. He threatened serious legal action if I did not resolve the issue immediately. He was clearly desperate for a convenient scapegoat to cover up his own massive structural blunder. By the third message, the panic in his voice was undeniable. A military official was asking him for physical security logs that did not exist on my old desk. The fourth message was even worse because the main air conditioning units were failing. The local fire department was threatening to flood the server room with water to prevent a building fire. The final voicemail was incredibly quiet and completely defeated. Bradley explained that federal officers had just entered the building to secure the facility. I dressed slowly in a sharp blazer, deciding not to return his calls. It is always wise to let your opponent make massive mistakes when they are trying to explain a complex crisis to federal agents. My phone rang once again, displaying a private number that I knew belonged to someone important. I answered the call and heard the deep voice of General Thornton from the Cyber Command Division. He explained that they were facing a major national security crisis. I politely informed him that I was terminated yesterday afternoon to save corporate money. The silence on the other end of the telephone line was heavy and prolonged. The general requested my immediate assistance as a cleared citizen, promising a secure escort to the facility. I agreed to help and drove back to the busy office park. The main entrance was blocked by local police cruisers, roaring fire engines, and several black government vehicles with dark windows. An officer stopped my vehicle but quickly waved me through when he heard my name over his radio. I drove slowly past my former co-workers who were standing outside in the parking lot. Brenda from Human Resources watched my car with a look of pure confusion. They all knew I was fired yesterday, yet here I was returning to the scene with a full military escort. 2 federal agents led me inside the chaotic lobby, where forensic technicians were busy setting up investigative equipment. In the center of the room stood Bradley, his expensive suit completely disheveled and covered in sweat. He was frantically shouting at General Thornton, claiming the entire situation was just a minor technical glitch that his cheap offshore team would easily solve. When Bradley saw me walk in, he begged me to tell the officers that it was just a simple server error. I ignored his loud pleas and greeted the general, explaining that my system access was revoked during the recent budget cuts. Thornton looked at Bradley with absolute contempt, noting how incredibly expensive this cheap cost-cutting decision had become for the entire government. Thornton explained that the core servers were rapidly overheating and would fail within 20 minutes. I agreed to stop the shutdown process, but I absolutely needed my physical security token. Bradley sheepishly admitted that the office cleaners had thrown the plastic piece into the trash can. 2 federal agents immediately grabbed him by his arms and forced him to lead the search. After retrieving the token from the trash, the general jammed it into the terminal port. I typed rapidly, entering the manual override commands to restore the cooling fans. A loud mechanical hum filled the dark hallway as the heavy ventilation systems finally activated. The temperature began to drop immediately, saving millions of dollars in highly classified government server hardware from melting down. I opened the active connection logs to identify the exact source of the security breach. The new offshore team had attempted to install unauthorized remote access software without using any encryption. This incredibly careless action had instantly triggered the level red alarm. Bradley looked like he was going to vomit as the general explained the severity of the federal crime. The general declared that the facility was now under military control and suspended the corporate contract. He officially appointed me as the provisional site commander because I was the only person who understood the systems. Bradley collapsed onto the hard office floor, realizing that his attempt to save payroll money had completely ruined his career and his life. We moved to the main conference room to meet with the terrified Chief Executive Officer, Arthur. I demanded a new consulting rate that was triple my previous salary, along with the spacious top-floor office belonging to Bradley. Arthur agreed to every single term immediately. Bradley was led away in steel handcuffs to face serious federal charges for his actions. Later that afternoon, General Thornton visited my brand new office to offer his respect. He remarked that I had weaponized compliance to teach them a hard lesson. I smiled, knowing the digital security systems had worked exactly as designed. If you enjoyed watching corporate greed collapse, remember to subscribe to the channel for more intense tales from the tech trenches.